Hey YouTube, I'm back with part 2. Yes, just call me AJ. So AJ is back with part 2, and in this video, I'm going to tell you how God has sustained me and kept me. So in 2022, when I left my job, I did receive a final check of vacations, sick days, and I'm like, wow, I didn't even think they would pay me for my sick days, and because I was on FMLA, I didn't think I had anything in my vacation bank. But I did get a nice amount. So I was able to pay my bills with that money. And somebody don't scream, shout, or kick me, but this actually happened. So the whole time, majority of the years that I did work at the university, I did not. Now, I could actually hit myself upside the head, but I did not enroll in the 401k program. I just felt like I was making very little money and I was a divorced parent. Like, I barely can live off of the income that I'm making. Like, seriously, I barely can live off of the income that I'm making. I don't have any money to put in the 401k. But I will say maybe 7 years, 5 years, I don't know, before I actually left my job, which ended up being a blessing. It was mandatory to enroll. So, of course, I didn't have to enroll. It was mandatory. So I did receive some income. No, so I did have a 401k. So I did, so I did borrow against it a couple of times. So I was in the process of paying both loans back, because I'm still not 59 and a half. And when you turn 59 and a half, you basically do not have to pay your money back that you borrowed against your 401k. So anyway, so I'm like, oh Lord. So I called to see if I could withdraw some money. Like what could I withdraw? And they were basically like, a penalty will be held against you, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, whatever. My mother's still in the hospital. I need the money. I have bills coming in. And I need to be able to live. I'm already stressed out about my mother. I don't need to be stressed out because I don't have a check coming in, and then I don't have time to go to work. So I did get that money, and I was able to live off that money for 7 months or so. And once that money ran out, now I do not have good credit. So I'm going to let you know right now. At one time I did, but that's not my situation today. So I did receive an email from PayPal for a line of credit. Not telling you this, God. For a line of credit that was over. I'm not going to tell you the amount, but it was a nice piece of change. So I was like, okay, I'm at the end of my rope. And what is so crazy about this? Now, I'm just giving God all the glory, because what is so crazy about this is, while I was working, I had customers coming in back to back to back to back with my business. Now that I'm not working, customer, hello, customer, where are you? I have no idea. Where are my customers? Where are they? So I didn't have any customers coming in. And anybody know, if you receive royalties from Amazon for your books and things like that, very little money, very little. So maybe $2, $5 little checks and things like that. So I'm like, oh my God, like, I tell you, I am not afraid to work. By this time, my mother had passed. So I did get the line of credit. I was able to get money off of there and pay my bills. And I want to say the first 6 months or a year is 0% interest. So I was like, okay, so I can use this line of credit, which will actually buy me time to get some other type of income coming in. Now, by this time, I hadn't worked in several months because this is 2023 and I left in November of 22. So I would say November. Maybe 5 months. Maybe 6 months. So I'm like, okay, so this will buy me time to market. Now, I had no clue on marketing, and I look at other videos, and I promise you it just goes off my head, like the marketing skills or whatever. I just feel like I really need to study and maybe take a class or something like that. But anyway, back to this whole, how God has just been faithful. So with the 401k, God, because remember, I didn't enroll in 401k, and I have been at the university for years. The PayPal line of credit, God didn't have good credit. In the amount of money the line of credit was, only God can do it. Okay, so then I was like, okay, I can't wait till the last minute. I cannot wait till the last minute and then look and see how I'm going to pay my bills. So I'm going to backtrack a little bit. So when my mother passed, she had a nice amount of money in her savings and checkings account. And so my dad and my parents, they were still together. So my dad gave me the debit card. So, okay, so I do have rental property. And at that time, when my mother was sick or whatever, the tenants had moved out. So I know I had to go. I went in and the house was just horrible. Horrible. I'm going to see if I can put a picture in. So now that you see the house, how horrible it was, a lot of work needed to go into the house. So I'm like, okay. So my parents also have had or whatever a Home Depot card. So my dad gave me the card with my mom's name on it, so I could go get paint, whatever else. I don't know name of stuff, but the little stuff to plug the holes in the wall and things like that. So that's what I did. And by me having my mother debit card, I was able to pay that house note over there. So me and my parents moved in together. So we split the house note 3 ways. So I guess I had a little money because I didn't go into the account to pay the house note here because I just felt like that wasn't fair. But I did pay the house note at the rental property. So anyway, that sustained me where I wasn't behind on the house note and it went into foreclosure. So I thank God for that. So I'm like, okay, so once I did get a tenant. That's a whole nother story. But I did get a tenant and that helped me with the house note. But just think about, it's helping me with the house note there and some other bills, but it doesn't cover this house note. And it doesn't cover like my other bills that I have. I still have other bills. And I have to help with utility bills where I live here. So I'm like, just stressed out. So what did I start doing? I'm like, by any means necessary, I need to make some money. So I started doing laundry. I did. Didn't pay that well, but it helped out. It did. And so one of my sons were like, I did shipped and I made like $50 per order. I'm like, wait, hold up, wait a minute. $50 an order? He was like, yes. So my I have two sons and they not now, but back then they were doing a lot of gig works and working a lot of apps and things like that. So I went on and I signed up to do Shipped waiting list. I'm like, oh my God, a waiting list. A waiting list? Are you serious? I need money yesterday. So I kept doing the laundry and I was trying to think of other ways to, make money, like start classes. And I put my books on this one website and like a ebook and things like that. But I think I don't have a big following on social media or anything like that. So I didn't get any sales or anything like that because I'm just trying to do whatever necessary. So I did get a customer and I made, a nice little chunk of change that would pay my house note, bills for a couple of months. So, just the faithfulness of God. So by that time that ended, I ended up receiving an email from Shipped saying with you could start working. So I went out the same day, had no clue what I was doing, none whatsoever, but I'm like trial and error or whatever. And so I did a few orders, messed up, didn't even scan the items or anything like that. I had no clue. So after I found out I messed up and at the end I was supposed to take a picture of the receipt and everything like that, and I knocked on the customer door. Sorry, I'm new. If you could, oh, I threw it away. I'm like, people are so just mean and nasty. So anyway, I was like, I went on YouTube and I looked to see some tips and also how to work the app. And so I got familiar with that. So pretty much, okay, I'm going to tell the truth. I'm going to tell the truth and shame the devil. And I don't know, I'm not going to even blame my age, but I only worked that app. I only work the app part-time. So I don't go out every day. So I will say, this week, I haven't been out since Monday. And it's Thursday. I have not been out since Monday and it's Thursday. It's Wednesday. I'm sorry, it's Wednesday. I had planned on going out today, but it stormed, so I didn't go out. Now, I plan on going out tomorrow. It's supposed to storm tomorrow as well, and I have to go with my dad to a doctor's appointment, but I really need to get out because I need the money. See, I don't want to get into this mindset of just making it or barely having enough. And sometimes I feel like that. Sometimes I feel like that. But just like I said before, God has sustained me in every time. Now, I will say, since my the current tenant, and like I said, I was able to use my mother's debit card. And I think actually the house note was 2 months behind, but I didn't want to pay that amount. So it was 1 month, always 1 month behind. And For some reason, I thought it was always 1 month behind. I don't know what happened. Like I said, my income fluctuate, and so it actually was like really 2 months behind at one point in time. So at that point in time, I was like, okay, I'm gonna pay the house note and it will not be 3 months. But when I called to pay the house note, this the rental property now, they were like, oh, you're 91 days behind. And the lady kept trying to put the payment in. And she's like, hold on, wait a minute. She came back to the phone. She's like, your house in foreclosure. I'm like, what? Oh my God. Oh my God. And so I was like, oh my God. This is just like something I did not want to happen. I did not like that money, part of that money. Of course, I still have to pay the house note, but whatever's left over is like income. So she was like, I'm going to send you a couple of links to your email, and don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. You fill out this information. And then she asked me a series of questions and things like that. And then she's like, your income is not enough to even qualify to. Your income is not even enough to qualify to like put you in one of these programs or whatever. I'm like, oh my God. So anyway, shout out to Nikki, my grandson's mother. I told her about it. I told my son about it. So I did. And then I knew my tenant was supposed to pay rent, right? Which she never pays on time. She never ever pays on time. So anyway, but this month she happened to pay on time. So she paid on time. I got money from my son. I got money from Nikki. She's just like a daughter. And it seemed, and then like I said, I was working this app. So I was out hustling. Do you hear me? I was out hustling. I called while I was still delivering. I was still delivering orders. I called and I was like, I want to pay, I want to pay the total amount due. And the guy was like, really? Yes, sir. This was like a week later. It wasn't even long. You tell me that one God. That was nobody but God. Nobody but God. Because Nikki didn't have to come through, or it could have been like, Miss April, I want to help you, but I don't have the money. My son, he could have said, Mama, I don't have the money. I'm trying to think then my other son send me some money. But knowing him, he probably did. He probably did. But anyway, and then she paid on time. And I think she owed like some back rent too that helped out. And then me out hustling. Like, everything just worked together. Everything worked together. It was nobody but God. Nobody but God. And not only that, I was still able to pay my part of the house note where I live and my utilities or anything like that. So I never told my dad because I was thinking I need to tell him in case I can't pay this part. But I mean, like everything was paid. Now, recently, I'm telling you, when I tell you God shows up and shows out. And I don't know, I'm trying to think why I didn't go out and work the app. And like on a previous video, I did say it is some weeks that I like have no income. None. So recently, I'm like, man, I don't know what was going on with me. I don't know. But anyway, I didn't have the money for either house note. And like I said, a lot of times my tenant is late, so I can't depend on that. So I was like, I need, like, the house don't do this, but I need some money. I need some money. Lord, I need some money. And the money that I was making, like, covered car insurance, life insurance, um, food, food, groceries are high, gas, um, but all the other little bills that I have, toiletries have to have uh, laundry detergent, shampoo, all these different things. And so I paid all that, but I didn't have any money for either house note. I didn't. I didn't have the money. I paid my part of the utilities. And so I had to go over to the rental property. And I said, I don't know, I just really felt in my spirit like I had a check somewhere coming through the mail. Why did I go over there? And that check covered both house notes. And I was able to pay for both house notes. Not only that, also, I had a bill coming out. Like I said, I own my own business, so different software and things like that. When I was working, and let me tell you something. When I left that job, I promise you, like I said, God can do exceedingly abundantly above all we can think or ask. When I left that job, I wasn't even at $24 an hour. I promise you. I wish I had what they give you? A check stub. I wish I had a check stub, but everything online now. I didn't have a check. I don't have a check stub, but I will show you that I wasn't even at $24 an hour worked a job 30 years. So a lot of times, so for a 2-week pay period, I promise you, I never had a check that was over 15. 2-week pay period, my check probably was like $1,200. That probably had some overtime on it. But I never, ever, 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 ever made a lot of money on that job. And so I can go out and work. I can go out and work on this little app. Now, I haven't worked full time. At first, I was working like full time, but I haven't. And I'm going to insert a clip to show you like the most I have made on this app, which is more than what I made on a 9-to-5. But getting back to this check that was in the mail, it covered both house notes, and it also covered a big bill that I had to pay concerning my business. Now, I would have loved to keep some of that money in my pocket, but that's not how it worked, or in my bank account, but that's not how it worked. That's not how it worked. I did have a customer recently, and I didn't even have to do much work. I did. I published her book. I did editing, like line editing. So her book was pretty clean, but I did some line editing, and so once I received payment from her, that covered, no, it didn't cover both house notes. I wish it did. But it did cover one. It did cover one. And I thank God for that. I'm just telling you the ways that God has sustained me every month. So if that customer wouldn't have never found me on Google, shout out to Google. But if that customer wouldn't have never found me on Google, I would have been behind again. I would have been behind again. But I'm just letting you know how God is working, has worked, and continuing to work on my behalf since He told me to leave a job. Now I think I did allude to it a little bit, but when the horrible supervisor and manager, and it is just what it is, came. So when the horrible supervisor and the manager came, they started pretty much forcing the older workers out, like 60, 65, 50. And what they did is they gave the younger girls easier work files to do or to complete where they could meet their quota. Now, I worked in billing. So and then they changed all our jobs around. So, like, I would take care of Medicare and Medicare Other, which is like government, versus a private insurance like United Healthcare, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Cigna, or private insurance. They changed all of our work files around. They did not train us. So that means that you are trying to learn these new insurance companies, payments, and all this, and you're trying to meet the quota, which is impossible, right? So we could see it. We could see it just as clear as day that what they were trying to push us out. So I kept just feeling this unction that God was telling me to leave. I was like, I can't leave. This is my income. This little bitty income and this big old God we serve. Girl, if you don't pack up that desktop computer and ship it back to that university and walk it back in there and do just what happened. And so I will say at the end of this year, now I do have a lot of expenses to deduct on my taxes, especially like with driving for shipped, like gas mileage and things like that, as well as, like I said, a lot of different expenses for my company and things like that. But still, I made more than I would have made. I made more than I would have made if I was at the university, which is crazy to me. Like, sometimes we put God in a box. Sometimes we are in the box because of our limited beliefs in what we believe God is going to do for us or how He's going to work on our behalf. Sometimes it is fear that's holding us back. Sometimes it is our own insecurities of what we believe in, what we have experienced in life as a child, looking at our parents only work 9 to 5 and things, especially in my age group, like I'm in my 50s. And so, at that time, that's all we knew. Work, get up, go to work, retire, maybe buy a house, pay your rent, pay your bills. And who wants to live like that? Like, I have so much freedom that, I promise you, I never want to go back to a 9 to 5. Now, if God instructs me to go back to a 9 to 5, I'm going to go kicking, screaming, and hollering. Do you hear me? I am going to go, but I never ever want to be in that box. I never ever want to put God in that box. And not only that, it's like, okay, my business, my little side gig did not do it. But the other things that God did that opened doors that has sustained me, that He has provided for me, nobody but God. Cannot do anything but give Him the glory, right? I can't do anything but give God the glory and thank Him because He has shown Himself strong and mighty on my behalf. And not only that, the Bible says if He look out for the birds in the lily in the fields, how much more does He love us? How much more will He take care of us? You know, now God doesn't want us to be wasteful. He doesn't want us to, because like the chick I was just telling you about that was over at the tenant house, she could have sent it back. She could have threw my mail away. But oh my God, when I got that check, I was like, look at God. I was worried about. I'm not gonna be like, oh, I don't worry. I don't think. Yes, I was worried about how am I going to pay these house notes. And both of them went up. I'm like, this is crazy. How you go up when I don't have a steady income? I'm like, how you go up when I don't have a steady income? But regardless of the house notes going up, groceries going up, increasing, regardless of gas increasing, gas prices, everything increasing, I'm still in a house. I'm not homeless. I still have rental property. It's only because of God. It's only because of His faithfulness. It's only because of His love toward me and His love toward you. If you are struggling, if it's, again, ask God for exactly what you want. Now, yesterday, I didn't share in that video, but when I asked God after I divorced, I asked God, I said, God, I need to make, now this is not even a lot of money. I said, I need $25,000 a year. I need to make this amount of money and I need child support. I need child support. And I'm telling you, don't you feel guilty? You're not the only one made that baby. Don't you feel guilty? So now, God touched the heart of man. I believe that. I did not know my ex-husband. This still telling you the faithfulness of God. I did not know my ex-husband moved out of the state. I had no clue. Now, me and my sister-in-law, or ex-sister-in-law, worked for the same university. I took a break. I walked over. I just was like, hey, I'm going to go say hi. I walked over. She worked at the front desk of the ENT clinic. So I was like, hey, how you doing? She was like, good. She's like, let me tell you something. Your ex moved out of town, told me where he moved, and you need to go after him because he shouldn't be taking care of someone else's child and you suffer with both of your children. I had no clue. Although I went down to the courts to file a garnishment against him because just mine being naive or whatever. When we divorced, I was like, I never had to, in the marriage, I never had to like fight or argue about money or the children needs or even my needs. I just didn't. In the marriage, I didn't have to argue, fight, fuss, or anything about our needs. So when he agreed to pay child support and not go through the courts and just give me the money, I agreed too, because I'm thinking he's going to do it. But he didn't. He didn't. He didn't. No, he didn't. But anyway, so once she told me that, I was like, okay, so he's not in state. I have no clue where to start. I have no clue where to start. I have no clue if he's working, where he working, anything like that. But I don't know if this pride, it may be. I'm not contacting him. He know he has 2 children. I am not contacting him. So he calls one day. No, he called his sister one day. She called me to kind of see where I was mentally if I would talk to him. Now, I'm not a grudge holder. I am not. Sometimes I wish I was. But no, that's not godly. I'm not a grudge holder. And I think I know part of it is because of how I was raised, and the other part is because my faith in God. Now, now that I'm older, I do realize that boundaries are important. But so he saw that I wasn't salty, mad, bitter, or anything like that. Sister reported it back to him that I'm not salty, mad, bitter, or scorn or anything like that. So he called me the next day. And he did. He said that he apologized, that he didn't send anything. Now, remember, I prayed at my desk that I would get child support because this firm that I thought about going through, they were going to charge me 30%. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. So I did pray, and God touched his heart. And he said, I'm not working right now. When I get on my feet, I will call you and give you my employer's information. And he did. He did just what he said he was going to do. And I know that was God touched his heart. So he not only called and gave me his employer's information, he sent me like 2 check stubs to take down to the court so they can start garnishing his check. And I did. It took a minute, and I don't know if it's because we were in 2 different states or whatever, but it did. It took a nice couple of months, maybe 4 months or so. But once they started garnishing his check, we were fine, both of us. He was fine with it, and of course, I was fine with it. And so we never, I would say, after our feelings got in order, as my friends say, after we both healed from that relationship, that marriage, I don't know if he healed, but I can only speak for myself. So I'm going to say once I healed, and I did take the time to heal, and we were fine. Now, it has been times where he tried to push my button, and I wouldn't go there with him. Like I said, I'm learning, still learning boundaries, but I wouldn't let him push my button. I would not go there with him. So I think once a person knows they cannot control you or push your buttons and you will not go there with them, they will stop it. They will. And if they don't, cut them. I know we shouldn't be cutting people off. But as my great grandmother used to say, handle them with a long handled spoon. That's what I'll say, because it's so many people cut off game is so strong, and sometimes it doesn't benefit you. So I'm just gonna say, oh, I just did it again. Okay. Handle them with a long handled spoon. God will give you wisdom on how to handle that person. That's what I'm going to say. But we did at one time, we could not talk. It was just like, but as I said, I took the time to heal. I took the time to do some self-reflection and get to know myself. And so I wouldn't go there with him. If he wanted to, okay, I'll talk to you later because you don't know how to talk to me. You don't know how to handle me. So it was pretty much like that. But even like today, our children are grown, but we still talk from time to time. And so if he get too beside himself, I gotta go. I gotta hang up because a person should never bring out the worst in you. They should bring out the best in you. And, that's just my advice to anyone who is dealing with, that could be anybody. Your mother could trigger you, your father, your husband, ex-husband, kid's father, the teacher. Like if you are in college and you're grown, I'm not saying do this if you're a child, but if you're grown and you're in college and a teacher trigger you, go to the authorities on that professor, instructor, or whoever. Supervisors, God will give you wisdom on how to handle your supervisor. He sure will. And so that's my next video on when my supervisor hit that cue. Shut up and get the working. Who is she talking to? Oh my goodness. Now I'm from the hood. I am. I promise you. Some people don't think they see the nice, sweet side of me. I am from the hood, baby. I think almost every black person, if you're not from the hood, you have family members from the hood. Oh, Lord Jesus. She's trying me today. But so I'm going to tell, my next video is going to be about a series of different situations where I could have handled them different. But if I would have handled those situations different, I would not have allowed God to move and work on my behalf because I would have took complete control over those situations. But I'm going to tell you about some coworkers and supervisors that tried me. They tried me. And oh, baby, I wanted to meet them on the parking lot. Yes, I did. But I had to pray. I had to fast. I had to come subject to the word of God and not fight my flesh, because we all have flesh. If you saved and you watching this video and you got something to say, you have flesh too. You have to make your flesh die just like I did. So that will be the next video. So next video will tell you how to overcome the enemy in your flesh and get the victory. And of course, please like, subscribe, and share. Thank you. And comment. Comments are always good for the soul. All right. See you on the next video.